viewers to understand that in the election, we want Ghana to be peaceful. It is
If we don't have anything, it's not communal love that we don't have. And we owe that to one another. As he said, it is in our hands that we have to be able to make, the world a beautiful place. So the people around us, when we show them love through our acts of service, our kindness, sometimes even people say they don't owe their parents anything and things like that. But even for the fact that you share blood, there is a connection. And with that connection, you owe them a duty of respect, love, sacrifices, and even with our friends, the relationships we make with our friends and loved ones, we owe them that much, that much to be able to just live in a peaceful and beautiful world, to make our lives beautiful as we go. And I hope that this quote has inspired you this morning. And as you go through your day, you share this quote with somebody, keep a beautiful smile on your face as always, spread some positivity as you go through your day. Now, next is the online news review with two of my co-hosts, and we'll be meeting our sports journalists during that time.
beyond the policy.
Yeah, welcome back to the Cocoa Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the Cocoa Digest Morning Show, and we're about to have our online news review. Like I said earlier, we have our sports journalist also joining us here today for our online news review, and of course, he would also be taking over the sports segment on the Cocoa Digest Morning Show. So let's get acquainted with Nanayao Asare and, of course, Miriam Abnadidi Shidie. You know her already. Good morning, my lady and my gentleman.
Hi, Yaira.
How are we doing? Yes, as for Mimi, we know how she's doing.
Yeah,
so, how are you
up
doing?
and I'm grateful.
Oh,
so,
great.
yeah, all thanks be to God. Yeah, I'm very elated to be here with you this morning.
Yes,
and,
we are also glad to have you here. So, quickly, what do you have for us on sports segment as we...
So we are talking about the Ballon d'Or ceremony which happened on Monday. We're talking about whether Rodri, the winner, was actually seen to be the winner, because quite controversially people thought another person was going to win it. We'll be talking about that as well.
Okay.
We'll be talking about Ghanaian players who actually went to Barcelona, some teenagers who were signed by Barcelona to play for them, and then they've been now cleared to actually make their debut for Barca. So they're quite interesting stuff on there for sports.
I'm sure our viewers are looking forward to that. I'm sure they've missed out on some sports news on the Cocoa Digest Morning Show. So Miriam, lifestyle segments, what can we expect?
Wow. Okay, so as part of our very own, special way of ending the month, we are trying to make our morning, more or a little bit exciting this morning. So we are discussing the trends in the music industry, and we'll be doing that with, ourselves, my very own co-host. So we'll just be discussing what has been happening in the music industry.
Okay. So on the business segment, yes, Clement will be bringing us news in the business world. And of course, on the main segment, we'll be talking about road safety, the consequences of accidents, and the role of the stakeholders we have here in the country. So of course, stay tuned as always. Now, quickly, let's get into the news. What is trending?
Right. So, Yaira, I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago, we saw a press statement from the University of Ghana Hospital saying that Pastor Salifu, or Bishop Salifu Amwako's son, has been discharged, but he is not fit for investigation or interrogations by the police, and so they should allow him to heal and, be very active so he can embark on the interrogations that are set before him following the East Legon accidents that happened the other time. And that has also brought, some kind of controversies. People do not understand why they should allow him to even heal. Others even wish him, like he should die, because that's
that's quite controversial, because he has to be fit so that the due legal proceedings can actually take place. I'm sure he'll be called to court up and down and all that. So if he's not even in the right frame of mind and to answer the questions that he's supposed to answer when things are put to him, it might actually end up...
But then the doctor who is also claiming he's not fit, is it from a psychological standpoint or a physical standpoint?
That is what we need to find out.
Because from the little I've heard, he wasn't injured in the accident, or he came out...
from the press statement, they indicated that he had a few fractures.
A few fractures. So the doctor's statement is not from a psychological standpoint. So he may be in the right frame of mind. I mean, the police can come to their home.
We cannot outrightly say that it's not psychological, because knowing that what you did, maybe in having fun, per se, has resulted in the loss of lives of 2 people. When you actually sit down and it sinks in, it might actually cause a little bit of psychological issues.
Okay, well.
So that is on the one part. And then also, when you suffer fractures, fractures, bone breaking, and the doctor discharges you, maybe go home and then make sure that you get your POP and all that. But you may not be able to move about freely and all that. So it actually requires that you may need to be moving up and down to court. You'll be doing a lot of things which you are not actually currently fit. And then you end up going to court, and then they'll say, let's adjourn the case. And let's adjourn. And then before you realize, a year is gone and nothing is being heard about it. So I think it's in the right direction if we want him to be fit. We are not saying that he shouldn't face the repercussions of his actions, but let's make sure that the timing is right when he is okay to be able to, so that there will be no excuse. We've heard people, maybe even in Parliament, people are going to be giving speeches and all that, and before you realize, they said they are not fit. So this time around, we want him to be fit. The law will have. And
based on the father's popularity and all of that, and even let's say social status, people are actually scared that we stand a risk of this just blowing over because of the influence the dad has. And if we even refer to the 2 young men who killed somebody for rituals, the 18-year-old was sentenced to life imprisonment, and then the younger one, the Juvenile Justice Act was invoked, and then there's some procedures going to be taken. So I think it is natural for all of us to also expect that at least, even if anything, the Juvenile Justice Act should be invoked, because yes, he is a minor, but first of all, he was driving when he wasn't supposed to. Then also breaking a road safety law, which is over speeding. So this cannot, yes, he's not fit, but when he's well, we need to be able to, because this would serve as a deterrence to a lot of the younger ones out there, and even the parents, that it may not be negligence, but sometimes, yes, even the children, yes, to 20. Sometimes you try to train your children, but they still want to go wayward. All of this can serve as a way for people to keep themselves in check.
But some people are also of the view that the parents do not really look remorseful for their son, because they even passed the statement that yesterday that the media should stop circulating their son's picture here and there.
Well, that one there,
and even the fact that I think I heard that the father even said that he didn't take a gun to kill people.
Yes, that was a very reckless statement. Yes, that was very, very reckless.
Because in the end, somebody has lost her only child and grandchild because of your son's actions, which is over speeding, not even just regular driving, over speeding.
But you know,
so you can't just make such statements without considering the families of the deceased and even those who are severely injured, the people whose shops have been, destroyed, all of that. You have to feel for those people. And coming from somebody who's a pastor, we are expecting that being a leader in society, father for all and all of that.
Didn't you see that video? He knelt and then he was crying.
But before even before the kneeling and all that, the reason why special attention is being given to this matter, or special attention should be given to this matter, is that the internet never forgets.
Yes.
So there was a video circulating of him online in the US. So I think one of the congregants in the church was late, and then in coming, and it was like, where were you late? And then he was like, because I needed to park my car this way. He said, oh, when you follow police, you'll never be able to drive, in his own words. And then in Ghana, he drives without a license. He actually made
that. I heard those statements.
And he made statements that the policemen see him on the road and then they salute, because if you catch him, he's going to tell you about. So special attention is being given to this particular issue.
And I'm even glad my producers decided we should talk about road safety and then the consequence of our actions here. So of course, later in the show, we will be discussing road safety. We'll be indulging the stakeholders involved. So just stay tuned. Towards the end, you'll meet them. So yes, let's go to the next story quickly.
Another interesting one that a lot of people are congratulating Ghana police on is the fact that they arrested a motorbike rider yesterday around Awoshi. He was found with human parts in a bag, and they arrested. And people are saying,
yes, Abai is
how were you able to detect that this particular Okada rider has something?
So according to the Okada rider, I saw the video online as well. He said he also didn't know that it was human parts. He's just been asked to make some deliveries and he was just doing it. But I think that's what everyone would say. That, if you got to put something I'm not supposed to have, I'm going to say even worse. What is this? It's not even my hand. But
it's multifaceted because most of these Okada riders serve as delivery guys. So on one hand, it is plausible. On the other hand, it then falls into that category. They said there's this thing about when they catch you, then now
it's
you
everything.
Not even with crimes. Even when you are going to buy something, then you have to pay for. The person you work with, they ask you, you see, it is part of us. But people have also raised concerns about the fact that he was being interrogated right then. It was filmed. People are saying that
it could be a setup.
Yes, and even if he has accomplices and other things, they would take advantage of this and also
then run away and things like that.
But it's quite unfortunate that it's out there in the public. But some of these things,
see it.
Yeah, we have to. And then now some time ago it came up in the news that an ambulance on the Ho to Accra highway was stopped, and then when they opened it was filled with weed.
Yes.
So it looks like people are actually using some of these delivery and then things that people will not be able to detect to actually perpetrate certain crimes that are not good for society. So if the police is doing this and then they are being caught and all that, I think it's a step in the right direction.
I also think that for our deliveries, like these Okada riders, a lot of them, yes, it is a small business they are, operating. But I think we need regulatory bodies. We need a sort of database so that you being an Okada rider or a delivery guy or doubling as that or something, you are in that database, maybe for the whole Ghana, deliveries for businesses and things like that, so that an issue like this, if it is truly a delivery you were making, we can trace the source, and then you will be vindicated.
That is true, but that means it will require a lot more regulation, as you're talking about, because what I think the government is trying to do, especially this particular one, is sort of trying to prevent what you see in Nigeria, where there is an influx of motorcycles and then causing unnecessary death and chaos on our roads. So if you sort of try and say that we are regulating Okada at the moment, that's from the perspective of this particular government, you are going to end up sort of allowing the way they ride on our streets, you see, reckless driving. If I can
but what I'm suggesting is more of something where their details, their information is all available. So I own a business, I want to get a delivery guy, I know who to get. Because some of these delivery guys, I think even in Nigeria, sometimes you see these posts, you are delivering food to somebody, maybe Mimi is sending food to you. By the time the food gets there, half of it is gone. These are all things that, if there is a database, let's say a company that is, managing all of these delivery guys, motor riders and things, and then there are penalties for even the way they ride on our roads and things like that. Some of these things can be regulated. So the reckless driving and things you're talking about can now, because they know that, okay, we have a boss. And if, like some of these trucks, we have, if found overspeeding or driving recklessly, call this number. Yes. If there's something like that where you can easily report these guys, I mean, they would also ride properly, because sometimes they cause some very unnecessary accidents. I have a friend who's the windshield, the front is the windshield, the back is, what's the name of the one at the back? It was also it was also broken. It was broken and the kind of car he cannot pay. But just because he was riding recklessly, he has gotten himself into trouble. And he knows that if he cries, maybe the person would,
That's what they've been doing.
And he's, because even the kind of car, definitely there's insurance. But if there's a regulatory body and they know that if I am found doing this, I will be punished for, maybe my motor will be seized and I won't even get to, my source of livelihood for a number of days, they will wise up. Because some of them, and they behave like trotro drivers too. As if the road is for them. They don't just hit your car.
Trotro drivers than stray bullets.
Oh, as for them, let's not even go there.
Okay, so talking about that, I think a step in that direction could be, we have DVLA and they license vehicles and then motorcycles and all that. So I think the database isn't far-fetched, but as to whether you are going to allow for commercial usage, that is also another thing. When are you going to allow Okada for commercial usage. That means people are going to say that instead of delivering goods and services, they are going to actually now be picking humans on it.
Yes.
And there are a lot of repercussions when it comes
Well,
to
that one goes back
that as
to
well.
our roads. If our roads are constructed properly, then there wouldn't be that much of a need for Okada, because there are some places cars cannot navigate. And they are even here in Accra. So it is, as usual, it's a cycle.
Yeah.
So if our government is able to, or the ministry is able to check that issue, then the incidence of Okada would not be as much. It will be mainly for delivery because it's faster. They are able to just skip traffic lights and things like that.
Yeah,
but then, what else is trending?
All right, so let me talk about this particular one which I've seen online, and it says that Kwesi Nyantakyi, we all know Kwesi Nyantakyi, who was sort of exposed by the Anas expose, the former GFA president. He's actually, I'm being sports biased a little bit on this particular one. He's actually suing Dan Kweku Yeboah, who's also a renowned sports journalist and Peace FM. He's your man, eh?
Yeah.
He's suing them, as well as Pulse News and all that, for defamation. He said they made reckless statements concerning him because they mentioned that he embezzled $2 million from the GFA. And he's saying that what they are saying, they don't have any factual evidence. And he is saying that he has evidence as to the contrary. So he's actually suing them that Osibakuri Yaska
Where's your evidence?
Yes. And then so that's on the one side. And I don't know what you guys think about that particular one. Reckless statements by media.
Well, yeah, especially with these local media stations, they have this particular way of describing situations that makes it look as being exaggerated, like an accident, and then the way they'll narrate it, you even think it's an action movie.
And
like,
you know, most of those things are just to gain viewership and things like that, forgetting that sometimes you may embellish the truth. And even it goes to serve as a way to check misinformation and disinformation, because you don't have evidence, or at least it is alleged you don't have evidence, and you are alleging that this person has embezzled this amount of money. Now you're being sued. If truly they do not have evidence, then they are going to have to, follow the legal procedures, probably pay whatever sum of money that is going to be needed for the settlement. I'm sure after that money comes out, my mom usually says removing money is like plucking nose hair. After that amount of money comes out, like nose hair, tears will so you said Paul's Ghana, right?
Yeah, Paul's Ghana.
When they have to pay all of that money, and then even the sports journalists, they will think twice about making
Peace
such
FM as well.
Yeah.
So this is the statement that was made. He says he said it in tree. So he said President Kwesi Nyantakyi nkwa koyi GFA sika $2 million. If Unibank, I mentioned the name of the bank. Kodi. That is to it. President Nyantakyi alone went to Unibank and withdrew GFA's $2 million and embezzled or misappropriated it for his personal benefits. That's what the lawsuit is actually saying. So quite interesting times ahead. We are going to see.
I like the fact that his name has come, up again.
I think he recently celebrated his birthday.
I'm just saying it in light of how the Black Stars have been performing, lately. Maybe it is for his good that his name is back in the system, so he will be, remembered for something good. Oh, maybe during my time, we're able to do
in remembrance for the good, there's also the bad. So, but let's quickly take some comments. So HM Joe says it's a cocoa morning again, and Akman Multimedia also says good morning, my big family. Good morning to you too. Now, big family audience also says good morning, Clock TV. Good morning to you too. And then ABK TV says, good morning, Clock TV. I'm watching you live inside Amasaman. Now, ABK TV is asking a very, very important question. Says, when are you people doing giveaways?
Xmas.
Madam, don't commit yourself.
I mean, so she's probably saying that for lifestyle, she'll be doing giveaways.
So Miriam will do her giveaway during Christmas. So if she doesn't, come and hold it. I will show you where she lives.
She might probably be giving away her hat. Who knows? A lucky viewer may win her hat.
And also, For that one, we will check with our management and get back to you. Yes, but you can also do giveaway for us. We'll take it. So quickly into the online news. The first story here says, Supreme Court rejects Bagben's application to reverse ruling on vacant seats. Now, this is a pretty lengthy one, but I will do my best. So the Supreme Court of Ghana has rejected the application by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagben, who sought to overturn a prior ruling that prevented him from declaring 4 parliamentary seats as vacant. Now, this ruling further complicates the ongoing legal discussion regarding the extent of the Speaker's authority and the judiciary's involvement in parliamentary matters. Then also, the Speaker's application aimed to invalidate the Supreme Court's decision that had temporarily suspended his ruling about the 4 seats. The Speaker also aimed to dismiss the writ submitted by Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, which sought judicial intervention to stop the Speaker from making additional declarations regarding the contested seats. Represented by lawyer Thaddeus Sori, is it Sori, right? Sori.
Yeah.
Bagben argued that the court had exceeded its authority by suspending his ruling and asserting that it was a parliamentary matter beyond judiciary jurisdiction. His motion claimed that the Speaker's actions are non-judicial and they should not be subjected to stays of execution, a process usually reserved for court decisions. Bagben's filing argued in terms, and I quote, in terms of orders staying execution of ruling, the Supreme Court's powers under the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and statute to stay execution of rulings are limited to rulings of itself and of courts lower in the judicial hierarchy, but do not extend to the ruling of the Speaker of Parliament, who is not part of the judicial hierarchy, unquote. The Speaker further highlighted that his rulings as the leader of an independent branch of government are separate from judicial decisions and should not be held in the same review processes. He voiced worries that the court's involvement could jeopardize Ghana's constitutional separation of powers.
Assembly Baba Debbie.
Oh.
So
Let's try it again.
First of all, I think already the brouhaha going on in Parliament is impeding progress. Like we said the other time, that there's a lot they are supposed to review before the end of this year. It's already doing that. Now the court's involvement is coming to impede it again because these are 2 people, sovereign bodies. This one says this one says this, and if one kowtows to the other, it jeopardizes the, the theory of separation of powers and checks and balances. So what do we do?
So with this particular one, I've actually, when I read the story, I actually highlighted four areas that we need to actually be wary of, because if we are not, it's going to end up being causing serious issues. So there is judicial authority.
Yeah.
There are implications. I've just highlighted them in judicial authority, parliamentary independence, checks and balances, and then future precedents. So these are areas that is going to have significant impacts on our political arena and space. So now when we talk about judicial authority, it says that, I wrote here that by asserting the ability to review the Speaker's decisions, it's going to lead to increased judicial interference over legislative matters. Is that what we want?
Yeah.
Is it that whenever the Parliament actually raises something and it's not sitting down with a faction of Parliament, then they are going to court to seek redress? Is that what we actually want to see happening? Also, there is parliamentary independence. Bagben's argument highlights the concern that judicial intervention may undermine the independence of Parliament. So this is actually another thing that we have to also pay attention to, undermining the independence of Parliament and checks and balances, as you earlier on mentioned. This ruling also will prompt discussions about the extent of checks and balances in the Ghana's political system. You know, our political system and our judicial system has been stretched to its borders. It's only in Ghana that we've seen sort of election hearings like twice, and it shows how democratic we are. But when we are towing this particular line, is it going to sit well? And how long can we actually sustain this particular thing? And then future precedents, I also put in here that just before, in 2016, an MPP, in 2016 thereabouts, yeah, an MPP presidential parliamentary candidate actually went independent. He actually distanced himself, and MPP themselves wrote a letter to that effect that they are not associating themselves with him. And it doesn't sit well in their particular constitution. So it goes to say that if the courts are ruling against this, does that mean that MPP's constitution is also not constitutional? Because and what are the so it's future precedents. That means what is going to happen the next time anything like this is actually said. I actually wrote lengthy things down, but.
You know, the courts also getting involved. I mean, based on the little I've also read, is based on the fact that some constituencies are going to be without a representative.
Yeah.
But then, is it something that cannot be checked? Like, can't the by-elections be held at literally any time for them to get a representative if these seats are declared vacant? Because right now, with the way we are at an impasse, basically. This person doesn't want to budge. This party doesn't also want to budge. So what do we do? And then Ghanaians are also at the brunt of everything. They say when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that suffers. We are the ones going to suffer. The people of the constituents of the vacant seats right now are also going to suffer. Then, again, with this checks and balance and separation of powers, what precedent are we even setting now? If Parliament decides, okay, the court has said, let's follow what the court says. Tomorrow, does that mean that the court is going to feel like, okay, we have some amount of power to decide what goes on in Parliament anymore? And if the court also backs down from Parliament, does that mean that the Parliament of Ghana can sort of, for lack of a better word, become pompous in taking certain decisions regardless of whatever happens because they are an organ? Because if we even attribute it to our bodily organs, I don't think that the heart tells the stomach to stop producing whatever it needs to digest food. But rather they work together. The stomach also can't tell the heart to stop beating because if it does, then the body will not function. So if we don't, if our leaders or these institutions do not acknowledge the fact that we are two separate bodies, we are two equally independent of equal amount of power to be able to come to a resolution with this issue, we will suffer. Because aside all of that too, we have issues in Parliament, the bill that needs to be revoked, even elections coming up, a whole lot of things that need to be set up before this year ends. Where do our priorities lie? Are we now fighting here? I'm Parliament, I'm court.
That is what is happening at the moment. So now, let me just read a little bit of what I wrote down while I was preparing for this article. It says that the Supreme Court's ruling against Speaker Bagbin raises provocative questions about the true nature of Ghana's separation of powers. Is that on the one hand, the judiciary's ability to intervene in parliamentary decisions could be seen as a necessary check against abuse of power. That is true. However, its encroachment may be may signal a concerning trend where the judiciary seeks to assert dominance over the legislature, undermining the independence of the elected people.
And the ranking member of Parliament's Employment, Social Welfare and State Enterprises Committee, that's Dr. Kwabena Donkor, also came out to say that, I think it's his opinion that this whole ruling seems more politically led than legal, because he made a reference to the people of, is it Saul? They call it Saul. Let me find, yes. So we have Sancho, Kofi, Akwafi, Likwe, and Lolobi. The people of that, maybe let's say constituency, have been without a representative for how many years? Since 2020. That's been 4 years. And he said something big along the lines of, so that has already been happening. Yet our Chief Justice had not.
And then if you're even going to, if you're talking about that, and also in 2020, when MPP's parliamentary candidate also distanced himself from them, what actually happened to their seats in Parliament?
That even led to what we are experiencing now. They set the precedent for what we are experiencing. But to address what you just raised, it's a major concern that a lot of Ghanaians are, raising to counter the judiciary's decision to rule out the Speaker of Parliament's decision. But I want to say that with that issue, it is different. From my research, I realized that during that time, it was a new constituency
there were some
that
electoral
was
issues.
set.
But you see, the whole basis of this argument, I think, is that why was that issue not taken up and resolved? Because at the end of everything, these people still had no representative in parliament. So with the courts coming out to say that they are overruling Bagbian's declaration, because these 4 vacant seats or these constituencies are not going to have a representative, it begs the question then that what about the first people? What happens with them? Why didn't we start with them? So that if that issue was solved, then it could be a sort of stepping stone for this, to give them more, to make it for lack of a better word, a more valid reason without any controversies around it. That's why I think Dr. Donkotu is saying that this is more political than legal.
And rightly so, because if the judiciary can actually come against the ruling of the Speaker of Parliament, then what is actually stopping them from interfering in other legislative matters? So, for instance, if there's a law that is passed and then it doesn't sit right, if this is politically motivated by the judiciary, it doesn't sit right by a particular faction, and then what is actually stopping them from when the matters get to court? What is stopping them from ruling in favor of what is against what the legislature has passed? So it is. Well, what I see it's going to set a very dangerous precedent if the courts can dictate the actions of the speaker and as to if it is right or it is wrong, which does not fall in your domain, as lawyer Thaddeus was actually saying. The courts are supposed to talk about, the Supreme Court is supposed to dictate issues that go to the lower courts and all that.
That they have power over those, not Parliament.
In Parliament. So now you getting your hands meddled in parliamentary affairs, what is stopping you
from tomorrow another issue?
Exactly.
So let's take a few comments and we go to the next story quickly. So TA says, hey, well, okay. All these are needless. It's government's business that stands to suffocate as it is now. Parliament has adjourned indefinitely. The Supreme Court cannot force the Speaker to work. The House is under his bosom. This matter should have been handled by the leadership of Parliament maturely. Then we have James Bernard Jedad also saying, we are up and grateful. You guys are doing a great job. Happy to see Nanaya on the morning show. Plug TV is always beyond the policy. Thank you so much for your comments. So quickly into the next story. This one says, UTAG suspends Galamsey strike. I'm sad, but it's understandable. So the University Teachers Association of Ghana has called off its strike, prompted by the rising issue of illegal mining and the association's request for the government to implement measures to address this problem. Now, UTAG explained that the choice to suspend the strike reflected a broad and democratic vote from its members across the country. And the association noted that the prevailing issue in the country, along with the interests of students and their families, necessitated the seeking alternative legal solutions to tackle the urgent issue. Now, and I quote here, it says, it was a difficult decision to suspend the strike as we understand the significance of the cause we are fighting for, unquote. Now, another quote here, we understand that this may disappoint some members of the public, and we do not take their confidence in us lightly. This is a statement signed by the UTAG National President, Professor Mamudu A. Akugu, which the quote was also by. So yes, UTAG has suspended their strike.
A concern I raised when the strike was embarked on was, is it only embarking on a strike that will lead us to getting whatever we want in this country? That was the concern I raised, and a lot of people were of the view that yes, the government only,
seemingly responds
to strikes, but didn't they consider a legal approach before embarking on the strike.
The legal approach in what sense? Are they suing government?
Of
are
course,
they suing the
because they have
Ministry of
reasons to
Lands
sue government.
Okay.
You are demanding for something that government promised to give to you, so you have evidence to sue him.
Yeah.
Hey, sue government. Or
Yeah, I mean, that is another way to do it. But what has yielded results historically is whenever you strike, government seems to you seem to tickle them or get them off
So
their,
what happened?
off their feet.
Okay, shortly before we continue, it has come to my knowledge that our viewers have been calling the line displayed on your screen. It is solely for WhatsApp. I know you want to share your views, so send a text to the WhatsApp number rather than calling. Please take note. When we have our segments and the phone lines are open, we will also inform you. So please send all your pressing suggestions and comments and opinions to the WhatsApp number rather than calling. Thank you. So yes, back to Galamsey strike. For me, I think I understand them calling it off because our educational system is hanging by its ankle. And the university students are going to be the ones on the receiving end of the strike. And parents, guardians, you're spending all this money to take care of your ward, send them to get an education, and then their lecturers and teachers are on strike just because, okay, not just, because of a national issue. So I do, on one hand, yes, but knowing that strikes are what our government seem to respond to.
Yeah.
It is a little disappointing, definitely, to a lot of the people in our public, in the general public, that, oh, we want to fight. It's as if it's also given this feeling of the fight against Galamsey seemingly is the energy towards it seems to be dwindling, and it will raise concerns. But then at the end of it all, we just hope that our government will do something about it. I mean, Operation Halt, I don't think I've heard any updates about it again.
Era, fighting against this particular government is sort of maybe fighting yourself in a mirror. Looking at how things have gone on and the responses they've given. But fair enough, UTAG again, and one of their spokesmen who was actually here not quite long ago, that is Professor Jampo. He, organized labor called off their strike. They didn't actually let it happen. And then some statements that he made was towing the line of sort of saying that some people have gone to receive monies and then called off the strike. But now, from that time to this particular time, it's sort of the same thing that has happened. But UTAG has also called off their strike. So is it going to say that they've also taken money, or they've also done certain things?
For organized labor, I think their reason was to give government some time, right?
I think government also responded that they were going to embark on.
But government, the organized labor, which UTAG is also a member of. So they had, in summary, when you summarize all the petitions that they placed to government, they were in 5 points.
Yes,
right?
yes, I remember that one.
And then apart from the one that says that they should repeal the LI, apart from that, at the time that they were about to go on the strike, government had responded to 4 of them, 4 out of the 5. And the repealation of the strike was also also in motion at that particular point. But then when you see, so it gives justifiable reasons as to why the strike was called off. But when UTAG alone stood alone and said that they are not, it seems now it's getting clear to them that it's not as simple or it's not as easy as.
But for them, the reason they gave here was about they are taking into consideration the interest of the students and their families.
Oh, definitely. You need to hang on to something. You need to hang on to something for you to make a U-turn. They should have
thought of these things before.
You cannot just make a U-turn. I'm not talking in line of the government, but when you give reasons why you are going to embark on an action, and then some of the reasons are being worked on, or you've been given justifiable cause to see that the reasons why you are going on the strike, so the government has heard you, because you go on the strike because government is not hearing your petition. So now, if government has actually shown this, then the step in the right direction is to hold on to something and then just make a U-turn that government has said this. So we are working on we are just like organized labor said, TUC, CLOGSAG and all that. They said that they are giving government time to make a U-turn on that, but they are still not doing it. And I think that was a step in the right direction. Although the situation is very prevalent, and then we need to deal with it ASAP. But it doesn't show, because when you do that, then it looks as though the strike that you're embarking on is illegal. Because you said
personal
or it's politically
But at
motivated.
this point, it is personal because our food and drinking water
we understand,
resources.
but it was organized labor. You were part of them.
And
so
then you decided
what were you trying to tell us, Oboro?
I mean, with the history of this country, well, all kinds of ideas will pop up about this and why it has stopped. But then at the end of everything, we Ghanaians are only crying for better conditions of our living that is here. And then also this issue, I mean, they said some powers that be have also invested in it. These people should have some compassion on us, and then take out all those.
They shouldn't have compassion. We should arrest them. We should go there, and because if you are saying compassion, it's like oh yeah, money who but we shouldn't be begging you to have compassion. I say
but some of these powers that be, if we are being honest, we can't trace them. Even if we do, and you go and realize it is somebody that is basically untouchable, what can we do? So that's why I'm towing the compassion line that, please, you've reaped enough. It's okay. Let us, heal our land. And then we the citizens, we can get
appealing to the emotions of such a businessman would not work. If the military has been deployed, machines now, bend it all.
By now, yes, that's the thing. Once money is being put, so we need to get it from the root. Bending, that's cutting off branches. We need to find, and that's why I'm appealing to them. That
I also want to say that the media should not relent on, its propagation of this, because if they do, people will say it was an agenda that we wanted to set. Because why was it like all of a sudden out there, everyone was talking about Galamsey, and now
everybody's quiet.
We are now talking about
down.
Clog TV. Beyond the policy.